Bueno, para... ¿Lo cambio? No, lo tengo que mover con el... Claro, porque es un PDF, ¿eh? No es... Sí, no pasa nada. Vale. A ver. Chiquis. Empezamos, si no ya empezamos con retraso y nos pasa como ayer. Presentaciones ya están listas, ¿no? Your presentations are ready, right?
5 million years to do that.
Clap your laptops, don't be paying attention to your emails now. All right, so let's see. Today we are going to start with the career development plan. This is a document that we are going to give you all. There are some instructions at the very end, actually. But let's see why, I mean, Adrián. Yeah. Are you guys ready, Adrián? Yeah? Yeah, this is important for him too, eh?
Yes, sure.
Yeah. So anyway, this is a document that is for you, ¿vale? We need to register it in the project, but it's a document for you. And yeah, it's very interesting. I was also a research fellow in a doctoral network project like you guys. It started in 2014 until 2017. And now that I needed to fish out this template, I read my document because I thought, oh, what did I write? And it's really nice because it gives you insight into where you want to go. No? So first of all, I'm going to start a round asking you guys, let's start with you, Edwin. What drives your passion, work-wise?
Actually,
You weren't expecting it.
No, that's good. Actually, I've been moving through, in my career, always as an archaeologist, but first with a really academic life. Then I moved to a more commercial archaeology and sold into that. But at the end, what I'm always looking for is trying to bring the gap between what we do in academia to what is going on in the real world. Because in cultural resource management, I had to work in places where people were starving and they were stealing the stuff that we have there to do the excavations. So it was such a big gap between what we were doing. We were putting a lot of money into rescue places because they were going to build the metro there. But the people living there right now were starving. So I always, whether I'm doing academic life or cultural resource management, I'm trying always to bring this gap together. So
right.
Whatever it is that I'm going to do with my career, when it's going to have to do with that, because that's what brings me like joy, actually. So
okay,
I love
very good.
But I also love translating this into normal people.
Yeah. Okay, very good. Joel, why do you want to do a PhD?
I mean, I'm just very interested in seeking knowledge. So I've continued to chase knowledge for a while, and then I also have a sense of it's kind of a similar thing, where I view history as a tool for like rectifying and repairing the modern world. So I'm really motivated by that, like a sense of justice as well.
Okay, very good. Marco, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Probably continuing to do research. Where? I don't know. But continuing to do research, hopefully with local communities
Hmm.
that I have a good connection with and like have historically been working with. Just because I think the long-standing partnerships with the community you work with is really important.
Hmm.
So, yeah. I'm really not a good answer.
There are no wrong there are no wrong or right answers. I mean,
We're gonna still be here. So.
it's yeah. Yeah. Venga, a ver, Francesco, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Well, I guess I will have finished already my PhD.
I hope so too, because there won't be funding.
Well, a postdoc might be like a great thing to do. And well, great, yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, I would like to keep going with this kind of career because at some point it would be nice to become a professor. I would like that.
You would like to become a professor, a full professor.
Teaching, the teaching.
The teaching part, okay, yeah. So teaching at the university.
I'm not that big straight. I'm not
Venga, you, what drives your passion for science?
I have a strong conviction when I choose this path to study forestry and further do my master's and now I'm here. So the strong, I mean, this is very much impact oriented. I have to do something impactful. That's my core objective.
So your core objective is going back. Sorry, what did you say? I didn't get it.
To make some impact with what I do.
Okay, very good.
It could
Yeah.
be research
Yeah.
or I could be working in industry or whatever. But
Yeah.
my objective is to, I mean, I'm an ecologist and now I'm training in archaeology as well. So as you may know, like these are cultural heritages and these have, I mean, what we say, for example, the forest in Rota, not that much very well investigated and how much disturbance, how much ecological imbalances that us into the very tiny island there. So if I can, do some research and find something that could be, I mean, it will be useful for further management, forest management, and make it more, resilient and more, more resistant towards the ongoing climate changes or conservation from human, again, human exploitation and all this stuff, make it, more ecologically intact and balanced. So
Okay.
I will follow such a career path where there will be impact for the environment, positive impact. I'm saying. So I have to decide. I mean, based upon depending on. I mean, I can choose what I want to do, but still I need to get the opportunity, right?
Very good.
So,
Exactly.
so depending on the opportunity that I will have, whether, I mean, the what of the things to do, you got my idea, right? What I want to do with my life. This is what makes me, drives me long term, I want, when I get 50 years old, 60 years old, I don't want to stuck in a position where I don't like to do it, something that I
Right.
don't like to do. In the end, it's my personal, pleasure as well.
Very good. Yeah. Ines, why do you want to do a PhD?
I think my answer is probably a bit of an accumulation of what everyone's already said. But in general, I just really like to learn. I can't see myself in a job where I don't think that I would be learning new things every day. And I like to read and just be critical and understand like the world that we live in, especially history is a perfect field to understand the current processes. And this is what I find very interesting. I think similar to Joel, I also am very passionate about themes of justice and these topics, especially when we're talking about previously marginalized communities,
Mhm.
certain privileges that we hold here, especially within academia. So I also feel very passionate about like, I guess making less obscure certain histories that have been pushed aside for too long. And I would really like to work on these types of stories.
Mhm.
And I guess on a long-term base, I just in general think education is really important, and I would love to teach as well at some point, not only in a university setting, but maybe also to younger audiences to engage in these questions.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it's just important work.
Very good. So we see here that all of you have, passion. No, it's one of them. We hear the word or the phrasing social justice, and indeed, through science, there is a way in which we can contribute to that. So the good thing about this document, and what I really want you to think about, is where you want to go in the future, and what do you need to get there. So this is not a document that needs to please us in any way. Of course, here you need to give a brief overview of what you are going to do in the project, which makes you also reflect in your own interest. I mean, you all apply to this as whoever applies for a job. So it's not a project that you design yourselves, but it still is going to give you the opportunity. What we really want, our desire would be that each of you would make your part of your project yours, and that you put in it also your expertise, and you get deep into it. But there will be also strands that you think you may want to explore, or you want to give it a more humanistic focus on somewhere, or some of your chapters or whatever. I mean, your chapters are also very well defined, and we are your supervisors, and we need to make sure that you stick to plan and on time. But this is also make you to reflect on where you want to go and what do you need. So it's a document for you, right? And these are the elements that we have in here. So brief overview of research project and major accomplishments expected. So don't think only about your papers or the papers that we have defined or the chapters that we have defined for your PhD thesis. Think also about outreach. Where would you like to do outreach? You know, outreach is science communication to the general public. We also have dissemination, which is for specialized audiences. But also think, what would you like to achieve during this project for yourself, so that then we can take it into account and can make it happen. Then, this is very interesting, the long-term career objectives. So this is where do you see yourself in 5-year time? Hopefully having completed your PhDs, moving on to a postdoc if you want to pursue a career in science. But a postdoc you can also apply for, to a project that someone else decided and created, or you can create your own idea in this time through this project, and you can think, this is what I would like to pursue in the future, and then I'm going to look for funding to achieve this. Because we can also help you, depending on where you want to go, shaping your CV to make you strong in several or in specific points to achieve that. For instance, if you want to apply for a job here at CSIC, or in France, for instance, or in Italy, it's also a very bureaucratic country, you need to know that for everything that you will list on your CV, you need to provide a proof. This is not the case in the Netherlands, but here in Spain, they are super strict with this bureaucracy. So if anyone wants to apply for a position here, there will be a state exam or a state commission, kind of, like un concurso, no sé cómo traducirlo. But then for every conference that you attended, you need to present the certificate. For every course you did, you need a certificate. So we will issue certificates also of these courses. For every secondment you do, think strategically. In Spain, secondments only count on secondments are visits to research visits, right, to other labs. They only count when they are more than 1 month. So this is crucial also, because I didn't know when I was a pre-doc and nobody told me. So I did several 2-month secondments in international labs, so 2 weeks, sorry, that then I could never use in my CVs when I applied for positions in Spain. So these type of strategic things, we are here to guide you through and to help you, thinking along for you to build in these years the best and strongest CV possible, besides your PhD, right? And so please don't think that this time is going to be exclusively dedicated to the research of your PhD. These are very, very demanding type of projects and type of positions, because indeed you are going to have to do a lot of training. You are going to have to be moving a lot. So time you are going to need to plan for yourself, time to concentrate in writing and to read also. And don't think, oh, I got 4 years ahead or 3 years ahead. And yeah, there's plenty of time. Time flies. And it's very important that you try to stick to time and make a planning also and stick to it. So in here, indeed, for the long-term career, it's also interesting, well, my own case. So I was working as when I finished my master's degrees and everything, so I wanted to be a dendrochronologist since my 20. I went to the Netherlands and I learned about it, and I said, this is what I want to become. Came back to Spain, finished the master in forestry, and then I went into the world. But then when I landed a position as dendroarchaeologist in the Netherlands, it was a technician position. And I wanted that position because it gave me the chance to learn and to see.
May I ask you?
Yeah?
You have told why you want to become a dendrochronologist at that age, you know?
Why?
Why you want to become a dendrochronologist? I mean, if you think now, why do you want to become a dendrochronologist at 20 years? Why you?
Yeah, because
that
my interest was always, nature. Nature, the sea, the forest, and everything about nature. But then so in fact, yeah, I went to forestry. I was also admitted at sea sciences, but I thought, okay, sea, forest, I went to the forest. And then I actually liked the courses about how trees react to their environment. And actually, and it was the 90s, when the whole topic of climate change and the climate change denial in the US became so strong. And dendrochronologists, the few that there were back then, they were showing this hockey stick that then everybody, the climate deniers said the hockey stick were tree ring series that showed how temperature was increasing very rapidly in the past decades, no? And yeah, so there was all this debate, and I thought, wow, what a fascinating science, no? And it's now at the core of it. So that was it, actually. But then when I went to the Netherlands, I learned about dendroarchaeology. And interestingly, I was employed there to do ecology projects with living trees, but I was paid 1 day a week to do archaeology. And then with archaeology, you get to date samples, so you get short-term reward every day, you know. And with ecological projects, we always create more questions, so it's like an infinity of frustration for me, in my view. So that's why I became totally passionate about it, and I wanted to go on. But then when I landed that position as a technician, of course, I was going to conferences presenting my research, because I was doing dendroarchaeology on a daily basis, dating amazing sites. But I was also seeing the growth patterns, special features, no, that needed to connected with the living trees and so. But then I was going to conferences and I was feeling very little, because my peers, even people younger than me, they were doing their PhDs and I wasn't. So at some point I thought, this has to change, because now I learn a lot and I want to do my PhD, because that will open up more opportunities for postdoc position and for funding. Because my payment, my salary was coming from the dendro dating work. So I wanted to replace that for structural research funding. No? And then I started browsing the internet to see all the funding schemes that there were. And from the European Commission, from the National Dutch Research Council, from the Spanish Research Council, everything that there was. And that's how, in the end, I started. I went to my boss and I said, there is this funding to put together a network to launch so that I want to use to launch dendroarchaeology in the Iberian Peninsula. And she helped me writing that proposal, and we got it. And that was the beginning. And with the data I collected there, then I signed up as external promovenda in a university here in Huelva, and I got my promotion like that. It was a hell, because I had my full-time job plus that. But with the data I collected in 3 years, I had my papers published, and I could graduate. And then everything started, you know? So now when I looked back at my career development plan, I had listed there, I want to apply for a Beni, I want to apply for an ERC starting grant, I want to apply for the, and I did apply for all of them, and I did get some of them, you know. I mean, in Australia, you have the Australian Research Council. They also have this grant like we have in the Netherlands, the Beni Vidi Vici project, so to say. And yeah, so I also applied there with a friend. But yeah, in the end, I got the one in the Netherlands. I also applied for a Marie Curie. And also using strategically my proposals. So the proposal I used for the Marie Curie postdoc, which got rejected. Also now I know why, so I'm a very good advisor for people who want to apply for Marie Curies. Strategically, I know how they work. But then I use the same proposal for the Vidi. And then the Vidi in the Netherlands, I got it. There are also very prestigious personal grants. They are given to a top 10% of proposals only. I mean, and then the ERC starting grant, I also got that one. So you see, everything was in there, and I was very focused. And this is what I want you to do. I want you, when you write this document, to think, where would you like to be? Do you want to stay within Europe? So think about funding schemes that you may want to apply if you have, or if you develop an idea in the future, right? Vale. So then I don't want to go more into this. I just wanted to make clear that this is a document for you. And then we will have indeed, so short-term results, research results, and so research skills and techniques. So this is not only about the hard skills, the scientific ones, but also about transferable skills. Do you want to get more training on science communication or something that we will start today? Just tell us, and we will shape our trainings also accordingly. Vale? So read this. You can. I will send you all this document today. You can start with it any moment. Let's say within the next month, you can send it to your supervisors for a first check. They may give you some comments, and then it's done. I mean, it's really like a no-brainer. You have here, then we will have also this document at the end of your contracts or of your projects. And then it's good again to reflect in everything that you achieved for the project, for yourself, and then towards the future. Have you applied for funding or not, which is not really easy if you are still a pre-doc. But another thing that I would like to tell you is that if you want to explore ideas and you feel that you don't have the CV for them, sometimes we are wary about sharing our ideas with a senior because the senior has to write the proposal, submit it under their name, and then you get the job. Vale? But still, it feels, it happened to me also like this. It feels that yeah, that person is getting the credit, that person will be the PI. So, but sometimes this can help you. So don't feel like that. Especially do something with people that you trust. Doesn't need to be your direct supervisor now. Maybe you meet someone at a conference and then you decide, I would like to go and work with this group. So maybe the PI on that group can help you. If you have a good idea and you pitch it, and then they can help you to get a position with them, right? So.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
I think that's a very good remark, but it only works when the idea is coming from the PhD students.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Approach the PI and say, hey, I want to do some work with you. I want to do also with you or whatever.
But I don't know what to do. Yeah.
You have a position and you have an idea. It doesn't work like that.
No, exactly. That's why I meant if you have an idea that you want to explore, go to a PI that you think can help you achieve it. Yeah, the other example that Frederick was presenting sounds very weak. It sounds like you want to go to work there. You just want to work there, you know. You don't care about what, no? That's what you mean, no?
So you should persuade your future supervisor that the idea you have is so cool, but also the supervisor acknowledges that and wants to invest time in that to make it happen.
Exactly, yeah.
So, and all these PIs are very busy schedule, so you really have to have a strong idea to persuade them to invest their time in it. So it's very important.
Yes, thank you. Yes, of course, any of you can contribute and ask questions. So here you have some examples of things that you may want to think about, okay? There's nothing is mandatory. There's not a good career plan or a bad one, just is for you, right? Okay, and with this, I'm moving to...
No, I think we have to update these plans in the meetings that we hold in the next month. So next training event in June, we'll have to revise the.
But that's too early. That's too early. What we did, Maria, was the initial one, then after midterm, and then the last one. Every meeting, I think, is too much. But here there is only the beginning and the end. But I think that the midterm would be interesting.
You have to keep updating the document, and so it's not definitive. Whatever you write now, it's not going to be written in stone. So
exactly.
Keep that in mind, because you are going to discover many things along the way, and so you are able to include that into your plan. And we should submit the plans within 6 months of the beginning of the project.
Yeah, so that's why I say within 1 month, send it to your supervisors for a check. They may provide comments, and then we don't need to wait until the end of the 6 months, right?
No, it's already gone 6 months.
Oh, yeah.
We are late. We are late now.
I'm just wondering also to help the PhD students with thinking about potential future applications for postdocs. So is there also like time dedicated to one of the following training events to have like an overview of EU funds and perhaps some Spanish, Dutch, or whatever national languages?
Too early when they just
Yeah, I think
ready to learn about the postdoc.
maybe towards the end of the project would be more...
We have to plan.
But if they need to edit here in the document and they don't know enough about what are the options, it's kind of hard for them to think about it. So that's my.
I also think that maybe including funding schemes is a bit too premature, because you simply don't know. You may know.
Well, no, it depends on you. I knew back then everything. But that depends on the person. But that's why it's not a document that is set on stone. Anyone can write what they want. So for the project and for themselves.
Yeah.
So let's not interfere telling them don't write this, don't write that.
Oh, no,
If in your 5-year plan you have in mind where you want to go and what you think can help you to achieve it, that is the goal of this document.
Yeah, sure. But I think Frederic is right in that we should plan for a specific training about these funding schemes and how to write a proposal, which is already actually in our minds. So yeah, for sure, we have to find someone who is knowledgeable and is doing these things, or even us from our experience, writing proposals, etc. But we have to do it.
Yes. And now, so I was told, well, you were told yesterday that you had to prepare this slide presentation. I was told last week that I was going to be the one giving the science communication and presentations. So here I am. Of course, I went on top of all the planning that I had before coming here. Vale, but this is going to be basic, and we will improve. We are going to have more training on every meeting. We are going to have trainings on science communication and presentations. And this one, so you will only have to do this 2 slide, 3-minute pitch. But then in the next meeting in Rota, we want you to prepare each of you like a 15-minute presentation of your full plan, more in-depth. So it's like what you are going to show today, but more in-depth, and what you've been doing in the first months, right? So now you already know several months ahead. Vale? Okay, so science communication. As I said, science communication is what we do is outreach. Vale? It's transferring our knowledge to the wider public. So, yeah, it is part of your job. As I was saying before, don't be mistaken that you are doing this project just to focus on your PhD, to achieve your chapters, to achieve the degree. No, you are also supposed to communicate to the outer world, scientific and non-scientific communities, what you are doing. Because after all, we are, your jobs are funded by public institutions, right? So we need to give back. And yeah, why do we need to do science communication? A ver, Inés.
It's important that the research that we do is understood by people who are not in our fields, that they have access to the knowledge that we produce, because it's not just for the scientific community.
Yeah. More? Who wants to, don't make me appoint you, please, just be a bit proactive. Why do we need to do science communication?
So that the communities that we work with understand what the research that we're doing.
Exactly, especially for ethnographic work, and especially in Rota, for instance, that we are going to be there. There were people coming to us at the supermarket saying, oh, are you going to present? It would be nice that you would give some lectures at the library to say what you are doing, because we were actually the only Westerners together with an ornithologist from the US and the Russian woman roaming around, spraying the God's word. Yeah. So, yeah. Anyone else? What? Yes, go ahead.
It's good for communicating to other scientists as well. So if we're, like, for example, we're doing an interdisciplinary project, it's good for us to communicate so that other disciplines know what we're doing as well.
Yeah, exactly. Very good. You think
I
that?
always say at science communication classes, you'll be able to tell what you do to your grandmother on
Exactly.
a birthday party.
Yeah, at the person at a party, exactly, without getting to.
As simple as that.
Yeah, exactly. So, and of course, we work. Yeah.
I think there's something else. Of course, I agree with what you guys said, but in addition to teaching others what you do, for me, it's very important to learn myself from others. So when I have to explain to others what I do, that makes me think about what I do in a different way. And that I always take a lot of new information from that exercise.
That's also good, indeed. Yeah, so we indeed, we can have many reasons, personal reasons like self-growth and learn to be a better communicator yourself, or just being able to tell your cousins or your grandma at the family reunion, so what are you doing? So yeah, this is what I'm doing. In a simple way, you're not going to start talking about what dendrochronology is really, that will make you the spotlight of a party. The moment you start talking about dendrochronology, there's no end. So if you just want to be inconspicuous, say that you're an accountant, and nobody will bother you further. But yeah, and also because it's fun, right? It is fun to be talking to people, no? Because we are passionate about what we do. So then, I mean, if you get me going on the archaeology of shipwrecks, I'm not going to stop, for example. Yeah, so it is fun. And of course, we work at a museum, and that gives us, in particular, plenty of opportunities to communicate with children. We have the spotlight, we have a place where, in fact, we are kind of obliged to do this twice a year in the weekend, to be there pitching 10 minutes to the wider public what we do. And the atrium gets full. I mean, it's really nice. And then I personally, as Cesar said, I found this is the most difficult audience, because you can have children popping up the most interesting questions that leave you flabbergasted, and you need to have resources to answer and to explain in a manner that they are gonna understand. And personally, I find it very difficult, and I still don't have a pitch for children. I mean, even my daughters, I constantly tell them about tree rings, and we go to the forest and we count the rings here and there, and still my eldest is 10, and she says, "Mom, you need to use a different language." or a different word, or what is that? We are not going to convince us, you know? So yeah, it's a very difficult audience, but it makes it challenging and so very, very nice. It's also a way to introduce yourself, who you are in science, and also to actually attract people, because that's also what we want to do. We want the next generations to get interested in the natural world, in our planet. There is no planet B, you know, and things like that. So it's really nice. This is it's a slide that I like very much, very important. So we need indeed to watch our language, because we need to be able to reach out in a way that they can get there, no? So silicate chemistry is second nature to us geochemists. So it's easy to forget that the average person probably only knows the formulas for olivine and one or two feldspars. And quartz, of course. No, yeah. So this is probably at a party, no? Two geologists talking to each other. But even when they are trying to compensate for it, experts in anything wildly overestimate the average person's familiarity with their field. And here we have another example. This is very interesting. Specialized terminology reduces the number of citations of scientific papers. So if you read papers in Nature and Science, you will see, first of all, they are very concise, right? They are very focused on one topic, and they are meant for everyone to be able to understand them, no? And in fact, the more specific papers with stronger terminology, those are the ones that are longer, that go to specialized journals. But the really high impact journals, that means they reach out to a lot of people. They have a much, how do you say, simpler wording. I mean, it's all about the wording. And this is also key when writing, by the way, research proposals, because in the humanities panel, for example, in the Netherlands, there are philosophers, the religious studies, area studies, historians, archaeologists. But then when a proposal from archaeology falls in the hands of a philosopher, yeah, you really want them to understand what you want to do, why, and how, in a manner that they understand it. Because if they don't, your proposal is doomed. So think about this at all possible levels, right? And then, yeah, choose your platforms. By the way, Arais?
Arais is coming after you.
Vale.
So you're going to go ahead.
So choose your platform. Vale? We have online media. We also have newspapers. In the Netherlands, we are reached out very often. Here at the CSIC, I can imagine many of you are reached out very often by the media. And sometimes they even ask, like, hey, do you have something exciting going on? So that we can publish about it, no? And yeah, TV, of course. But yeah, let's say you start with social media. Think very well about what you post, because you are representing also an institution with your research. I mean, if you post about your personal stuff, that's a different matter. But if you want to post about your research, you are also representing your institution and your group. So choose carefully what you are going to say. Yeah, we have the museum as a platform, of course. And by the way, if some of you are going to visit us at Naturalis, well, Marco and Francesco, of course, will have to present. We also have seminars, the colloquia. Thank you. Yeah, so you can present. It's very nice to attend the colloquia to see also how everyone does it. It's also a very interesting exercise, because our colloquia are for our museum people, no? So the scientists also, but people from collections. So, but they are from very different disciplines. And sometimes happen to me that I'm sitting there and they are talking about whatever animal or something, and about the time when they used to be in the deep past. I don't have a reference. I mean, I only work on the Holocene, and they talk about this as if I should know about that. I don't even know when that animal was alive, And that happens in archaeology very much, that they are talking about the Stone Age or the whatever age, but these ages changing in different parts of the world. So you need to put there the years. I need to see the years, otherwise I don't know where I am. So this is also something. So the ones of you visiting us, it will be nice when we know ahead when these visits are going to happen, then we can plan also spotlights for you or colloquia or so. And now let's do the 1 minute game. So, I mean, the PAs can also play, Like each of you is gonna have to say, and I want a mobile or something with a timer, or someone, you time the time, please. Venga, Inés, we start now for you. In 1 minute, you have to say who you are and what you're gonna do for this project. So 1 minute thing is about 100 words. You're not gonna be counting them, but you have 1 minute. When the time starts.
Now.
Okay, my name is Inez. I'm doing a PhD in ethnohistory, which means that I will be uncovering the history of peoples or a time period that don't necessarily have written records in their own words, so you have to rely on documents written by other people or material culture, anything else that you can get your hands on to understand the history of these people, and I will be investigating where and how they lived, and how colonialism affected these patterns and how that relates to the environment.
Okay. Yeah, actually, that's 39 seconds. Very good. It felt very long to you, right? Vale, let's see. Venga, Edui. Go.
My name is Regina. I'm an archaeologist and an anthropologist, and I'm going to be working during my PhD in building the sequence of occupation, of human occupation of the Mariana Islands. And the main goal is understanding who was living there and when, by the time of the European arrival in the island, so we can understand better what was the impact on them. We need to do a lot of work with that, because the last time that someone built a really comprehensive classification of the material culture was in the 1950s. So it is a lot of work, but I'm excited about that.
Very good. We have 44 seconds. Very good. But, a ver, Francesco, you go now.
Okay, so my name is Francesco. I have a background in evolutionary biology and phylogenomics, and I will be working here on botany. So I will be first focusing on dendrochronology. So we will try to see if there is any tree species that has a dendrochronological potential. So if we find some remains you find some remains in the field, maybe it's gonna be we will gonna be able to date it. And then we will focus on testing the secondary regrowth of the forest. So maybe the inland forests are not really native, but actually the result of a secondary growth after the abandonment of the inland forest by the Chamorro people. And then we will be probably able to date and trace the introduction of plants, first by the Austronesians with the first out of Taiwan migrations, expansions, and then we will test the Spanish introductions.
1 minute, 0 seconds, 43 seconds. So it was. How did it feel for you?
It was okay.
How did it feel for the others? How you each other have been doing it so far? Do you have comments for your colleagues? About about the clarity.
Like, yours was shorter because you're the first one. You didn't have time to think about it, and you got some one time. I just saw her face. She was like. And then Spanish.
Yeah, but imagine you are at a party. This is. Venga, Marco, you go.
Marco Zangi. I'm a PhD student working on ethnobotany. And my work will focus on the traditional plant wild and cultivated plant use in the Mariana Islands by the Chamorro people, understanding which plants they've used in the past, what plants they use now, the traditional management practices, and hopes that informs all of your guys' work on how the forest has changed by being able to look at how the forest might have been traditionally managed and the plants that we use. Yeah.
37 seconds, okay. And let's see, venga, you go.
Can I begin? Okay, my name is Vasu and my background is in forest science. So I'll be doing connecting ecology with archaeology, basically, using non-invasive techniques, mainly remote sensing. So I will use vegetation as a proxy for the past settlement by women in the native forest of Florida. So yeah, I will be doing a lot of field work, then later using remote sensing from Sentinel imagery, data, assisting that data, verify creating models, and yeah, recognizing the patterns, and I will try my best to workflows that can be reproducible, and so that it can use in another areas, and to fill the gap that we don't have much knowledge about the forest.
You're checking your watch.
We don't have much knowledge about the forest, about the anthropogenic legacy. So I will fill that gap.
Yeah, you were having your own watch. Otherwise, you would have gone longer. I have the impression. So you went over the minute. But especially speaking with clarity is important. So you need to speak at a slower tempo, I would say. So it's not because you want the message to get through. Venga, Joel, the last one.
My name is Joel Cook. I'm a graduate of Fayetteville State University in East Carolina University in the States. I studied history and intelligence studies in undergraduate, and then for my master's I did underwater archaeology. I'm here to study colonial history for my PhD, well, a little bit of history, but also mainly colonial history. And I'll be focused pretty heavily on the Spanish, the Japanese, and the Germans, but also the Americans and their not colonies out in the Pacific. And so my goal was to find documents and records that indicate the introduction of plant life into Americans. And so I'm currently just working on compiling all of the places and resources that I need to acquire, and then I'll hopefully have like a comprehensive study of everything that I need, and I'll be able to present that to you all.
Very good. So that was 57 seconds. None of you mentioned the institution where you are employed, right? What would you say? Do you have some recommendations to each other about the tempo, about the content, or?
I think that we went really fast into what we were doing before explaining better who we were. So
That's right.
So I was not clear about your question. So they had to introduce for us in this group their research, or was it an exercise?
Yeah, no, I said you can be at a party also explaining.
Okay, because I think that this happens also in the proposals. When you read a proposal, people start right away saying, I'm going to study this and this and this, and there is a gap of knowledge here and wherever, and the Mariana Islands, we don't know about the vegetation. And so anyone else who is not you would say, and so what?
Yeah.
And so what? So, okay, we don't know about the Mariana Islands vegetation, but I can live with that.
Yeah, why do you need to know it? Yeah.
So the thing is that when you introduce and we do it, I also make this badly, I think, especially in communication. But instead of going into the details of you are an ethnobotanist or you are studying the sequence of occupation of the Mariana Islands, you have to say why. But this is something that we ourselves have to have clear in our minds, because many times we don't know why. We don't know the last why of why we are doing this.
Yeah, so what Maria is saying is very important also for presentations at conferences where you're going to introduce your own research. But indeed, you need to start in the beginning to why this project. So it's the overarching question in this project, no? And then this is, and why we need to know it. So Maria yesterday was saying, because 200 years of Chamorro history have disappeared or are neglected or are hidden, and they need to resurface, for example, no? And or the history in the Pacific for native peoples in the Pacific. So it's not only about the colonial history and the history of the Spanish that is lacking in the books, in the British books, but it's also it's actually about the native peoples, no? But very good. We also make these mistakes. I introduced yesterday myself also. I probably didn't say my rank within my institutions. I also didn't mention my institutions maybe, or did I? Well, so this is something that we also always mention where you work. So who you are, where you work, and what are you doing, and why, no? Let's continue. What time do we have?
You have time because this goes on until 11. But Alex is going to take less time, so.
Vale.
But if you stop earlier, it's okay too.
Yeah. So the coffee break is at 11 or before?
11.
Vale. Bueno, so indeed, now this is just for you to think, like, what is your core message? When you need to communicate, the first thing that you need to think is what's going to be your core message. No, I also fail miserably. I still don't have like this minute pitch to say what I do, you know. And I always say, well, I'm a tree ring scientist or I'm a dendroarchaeologist, but actually, that just doesn't do it. No, so think first about what you want to say and about what you do. And now some examples gone wrong in general media communication, right? Because this is always very fun. So from what you see in the headline, headlines, the heading,
Headlines.
and then so scientists just found hidden parasitic wasps spreading across the U.S. This is a very negative tone, right? So this is probably going to lead to news that says we are in danger because there is this dangerous species. When actually, if you read the smaller letters below, scientists have uncovered 2 previously unknown parasitic wasp species in North America, sparking new questions about biodiversity, invasive species, and ecological balance. So actually the news has more of a positive tone because it's about biodiversity, even when they are parasitic species, but yeah, you know. And another example of this, the Princess of Batik redated. No, it's like they are playing here with the dating component, no, of like dating as going on a date with someone, when of course they are talking about the dendrochronological dating of a coffin. And here, for example, the news is a bit, what do Sir Elton John, Barack Obama, and Taylor Swift all have in common? From trapdoor spiders to coral-dwelling crustaceans, meet the 15 animals named after celebrities. But the person in the photo is none of the 3 they mentioned there, you know? It's Shakira. So, you know, so yeah, we need to think also about when we post in LinkedIn, for instance, and we give a headline to our post. Yeah.
I learned that science communication at MBO, there are 3 things that occupy human beings: sex, food, and animals. So this
it's actually meant to catch, no?
stress of satire will catch people's attention.
Exactly, that's
And
probably.
this creepy wasp will catch people's attention. They will believe that the story is something different.
Yeah.
But they will click on this thing. They will click on this thing.
Claro. So
that's why they do it.
So that's a way to play with it. Also, we also do it with dendro dating. So like dating the undateable. No, then when I was googling it, I wanted to use that for a research proposal title, and then I googled that, and then I found that there is actually a reality show that is about dating the undateable. Like,
yeah, but I can understand.
you know, and then it was like, okay, I cannot use this. So,
Why not?
yeah, well, I mean, the reality was not like a good show, you know. If it would have been a good one.
Then everybody's going to click.
Yeah.
Oh my God, endocrinology.
Next. Vale, so, well, last of these examples, global sea turtle poaching is on the decline. And the guy appears there with a turtle in his, probably this is a biologist tagging an animal and taking a photo for himself, you know, but this ends up maybe in social media or from social media in some news item. And well, what if you see this, that doesn't look good on you, you know, you don't want to be the one associated in a title with poaching, with the word poaching. This is something that, for instance, in shipwrecks or shipwreck archaeology, Joel probably knows very well these issues, that the association, I mean, shipwrecks sell very well, but it's always the association with a treasure that sells. And this is something that nautical archaeologists and scientists working on shipwrecks always try to detach ourselves from. You don't ever want to be associated with Odyssey, for instance, one of the big maritime companies, or how to call them, that have been looting shipwrecks, you know, and things like that. So it's very important to study how you are going to present yourself in the media or in news items. So you focus on your core message when you want to pitch or when you want to post what you want to say, and so on. This is it for this one. And by the way, I've seen some of you are active on LinkedIn. That's very good. No, you introduce yourself also, Francesco, and yeah, it's good that you do that. I don't know, are you guys using social media for work? Yeah? Are we connected already? Or yet? No, I don't think so. No, so make sure, indeed, just connect with each other and make sure that you repost each other's posts. It's also good. Tag the project, tag Pacific People Forest, so with the hashtag, and so on. A ver, and now, so yeah, no, actually I could have given the other one first, but so let's do it like this. Now you guys, now they can present, right? Are they all their presentations? Ah, vale, sí, pues que presente ella, luego presentan ellos, vale. Sí, and I have another one, but if I don't give it, it's also fine. No, por favor. Tengo otra, es que tenía dos de... Voy a tomarme un descansito. Ay, esto, sí, se lo das.
Comparte pantalla ya. Sí. Estoy escribiendo por WhatsApp.
Hello. Hi, okay. We can see you. Así te escuchamos bien, ¿eh? Igual con retardo.
Sí, va como un poco de...
Pues nuestro fuera, ¿no?
¿Leyeron la noticia de temas de María? Por favor.
No, because we closed our microphone.
No, sí.
Can you go here, María? Arais, we can hear you.
Sí, la estoy
But then
llamando.
if we silence ourselves, you don't hear the echo, right?
Sí. Es que no. Es que, claro, madre mía. Vaya. Araíz. No.
Espera, Araiz. Hola, ¿me oyes? ¿Araiz? No. Hola, Araiz. ¿Me escuchas? Vale, vale. No, que haya salido María a llamarte por teléfono. ¿Cómo hacemos entonces, Rubén? Sí. Sí, te oímos perfecto. Araiz, nosotros te escuchamos perfecto, o sea que dale, si queremos hablar luego contigo, paso el micrófono y hablamos. Sí.
Being here,
makes the project have more visibility. So we are start so that we are our project, not artists and know what it is. Okay? So the two platforms that we have
I was wondering if you could explain why we're not using Instagram. I personally haven't heard of Blue Sky myself, and I think LinkedIn is for a very specific type of tone. Yes. My question was just asking for the reasons why we're not using Instagram for outreach. I personally think it would be a good idea. Yeah.
Alright, can I reply first? This was my option because I didn't want to be on Meta.
So what about Twitter? It's also
But we sorry, yeah, we can discuss about the strategy, no, alright? So yeah, I,
I think it's a political.
but yeah, again, as I just said, if you consider that being on Instagram is necessary or important or relevant, we could talk about that. This is that I didn't have anything to do with Meta uh, for obvious reasons, no? But
Yeah, that doesn't mean that they can post on Instagram, and you can
Yeah.
post on Instagram and tag the project as well, and then if you want, but it's more about having an institutional site or account of the project in these platforms. I really made that decision, and I also.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, also Araitz didn't mention, or Marta, but the thing is that we are obliged to do this communication. It's not that just that we want to be, communicating just per se, but we are required by the European Commission to be doing this. But they don't tell you you have to be or Meta or not or whatever. You can choose and you can do it in different ways.
Can anybody just post, or is there somebody of the project checking the posts and see if they're, I don't know? Oh, but my question is there somebody of the project who is controlling these posts and maybe signing back to the PhD student, you shouldn't post this or change your post, or you could just wildly post pictures of you in bikini in Rhode Island. I just invent something.
Araitz, can I say something and then I pass it on to you? Okay. So Araitz is our officer for social media. And we have a commission of representatives of every institution which should be in charge of social media together with Araitz. So from Naturalis, we have Francesco and Marco. From Leuven, we have Joel Cook, and from CSIC, we have Jesus, who is not here. And these roles were, how you say that? Were given in the kickoff meeting, in the session we specifically dedicated to this issue, because it's important that every institution contributes equally, and we have a schedule in which every institution should be posting at least once a week, etc. So everything is very well organized. But the thing is that Araitz has been writing all of these posts because we didn't have enough input from you, right? So she has been working double, I would say, because if we write a little post like this about our own things, it's going to be much more agile and easy and easier, no? And so I have been reading the posts before they are published, so I take responsibility for that until now. But it shouldn't be like this. It should be the Commission, which is specifically focusing on social media and communication, right? All right?
So if I post something, I should not post it myself, but ask Marco and Francesco, I want to post this. Are you okay with that?
That would be easier if you go through them, because they are in direct communication with Araitz. So that will be much easier. And you can post, but the thing is that Araitz has designed a strategy in which the information we give is structured. So we have to give pieces of information at one at a time. And it's not easy because I want to say many times, I want to say many things in one post, and it doesn't go. So she splits the information, and she thinks how it's going to work better and the logical way to explain things. So there is a lot of work here going on with this social media, and I think it has to be explicit. And because you have to be aware, if you want to post, it would be perfect, it would be fantastic. And so you just tell your two represent officers here, and it goes to be in. Everybody should be visible. This is also very important. It's not that just we are feeding the media. No, everybody should be visible, and everybody should take advantage of this platform, right?
Like all information is maybe if you want to post something that is only or very specific job, that's totally okay. It's just it should go through the official channels. Also because we want to maintain coherent message to the different channels, not confuse people. Because imagine if for example, this we have been about this we're informing really after that you not present the training.
Yeah, but then, for instance, when you send the post about the training, then we could also, so once that post was out there, we could also repost it with our thoughts, or we could also post ourselves saying we have this training coming and distributing the link. Because I think that how many impressions did we get on this post in particular? Can you tell? Because I also keep track of the impressions my posts get, and yeah, very often in 24 hours I got 2,000 impressions or over 2,000 impressions, in the end, what we want is to have that outreach, right? So then I don't think it's counterproductive as long as we always use the same tag, because also what we want is at the end of the project, it's very good in proposals and in reports to use a page to post some of these screenshots of the impressions in 20, I take the ones in 24 hours, for example. And then, yeah, if we can show that we have a lot of outreach, yeah, because our networks are also different. So each of us can reach out different type of networks.
The invitation to the parents is not posted on the chance between more than a so if like
Yes.
then you will have your comments and do more ways. So it's a little okay. What I'm just saying is that research information go through our class, and then of course you can click those and after the research that's you suggest mention as well. You know, like after the training, then
Thank you, all right, thanks.
thank you.
So, yeah, the important thing is that the message is coherent, as I said. So,
Yeah, so it doesn't mean that we cannot post.
no, not at all, not at all.
But indeed, when they are main activities, and so it's nice, it's better to repost, for instance, her post, and then.
And add comments, that's great, that's perfect. But the main platform, the main reference would still be coherent and developed under a particular strategy that we can discuss. Also, it's something which is objective and we can discuss about that. It's not just posting randomly. No, that's the idea.
Yeah, I early to us if you speak over time and also communicate right there is that strategy behind everything we post. As I said before, we have the analysis of humans between platforms and the what you see subjects not to talk to the same thing all the time. And it's like different institutions, inspector project, and also we have to make all this very different information understandable for somebody that is not connected to project. That's that work, and that's what we're working on. And I hope that you're going to ask me because it's very early stage. I was encourage you the process behind for you because now as it's very early stage, I do something in confused why it's complicated when having on this company. And over time, you see
How many followers do we have by now?
Marta is asking how many followers do we have?
now we have one, which is because in on
One, she said?
How many? All right. $92.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, Marta has been working on the strategy. Actually, Marta is very good in reposting and making comments. Eh? She's very good. No? Thank you, all right. ¿Querías decir algo?
So that everyone should encourage their network to follow our project.
Yes, please. So thank you, Arait. Thank you so much. Muchas gracias por el esfuerzo. Ha estado muy bien, genial.
Gracias.
Chao.
She was really scared to speak in public, but it was great.
No, ahora que presenten ellos, desde el café. Yo creo que sí. Porque luego ya cambiamos, ¿no? Ya, sí, yo esta presentación que estaba aquí, nada, no la voy a dar. No.
Arrancamos el... Bueno, muchas gracias.
Qué mujer. Si es que en verdad la que quería dar era esta, pero como no me gustó nada cómo la prepararon, pues ahora que sean... Vale. Y ya haremos...
Ahora, Mariana todavía está conectada. Sí.
Creo que sí.
Vale.
What's that?
Mariana, sí.
Who?
Mariana, que va a presentar
What time?
a las 11:30.
Okay,
Sí,
after the coffee, no? Perfect. So now, guys, it's a perfect time for you to give your presentations and your pitch, right? So you have them there. Who's going to start?
El que queráis.
A ver, venga, abre ahí,
¿Esto lo cierro?
estará, sí, bueno, ciérrala, será por poner ahí. Sí. Si son esas, ya abre.
Yo sé, Joel.
Vale, venga, Joel is the first one. We are going to go up to down. Uy, vale, ¿y qué formatos se han hecho?
Cada uno el suyo.
Uy, vale. A ver, haremos también pues, con el reloj. So we are going to time them. Vale, so you will have 3 minutes. Did you practice?
No. Did we practice?
I see everybody doing. Did you practice, Joel?
No, I'm just a yapper.
Okay.
So where do I stand? Are you controlling the slides?
No. I think the...
Maximize. Close the sidebar, please.
Is the presentation.
Public history.
Is full screen?
Estoy en ello. ¿Cómo va esto?
Menu.
Top left. Aquí. Como cada uno pasa eso. Vale.
Sí.
3 minutes, right?
Yes. Oh, Joel. Thank you.
Ready?
Yeah.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Joel Cook. As I mentioned earlier, I'm a graduate of Fayetteville State University and East Carolina University. I studied history and intelligence studies. I initially thought I was going into the military, and I didn't, thank goodness. And so for my graduate program, I studied in East Carolina and doing maritime archaeology. I initially started out studying the Middle Passage and slave trade, which I thought I was going to specialize in, but that was a little too heavy for a day duty work project. And so I transitioned into studying small combatant craft, military craft from the First and Second World Wars. And so with all of those different experiences, I became a public historian. I've worked with museums at the regional, state, and national levels. I worked with Old Salem Museum and Gardens for about a year. And then I went back to East Carolina to work with Dr. Jennifer McKinnon on the INCIPIT WMIA County project, or county agency, with one of their projects. And so I, at that point, started focusing on recoveries of prisoners of war, missing in action, and essentially doing the work for the people that get to go do the cool stuff. So whatever projects that they needed, like if they were going to Japan for a project, if they were going to Okinawa for a project, I was the person that built identified the best places for the archaeologists to be, and then they would go and do the cool travel to Okinawa. And in addition to that, in my background, I'm a writer and an editor and a host of a public, I work for PBS, or I did. And so I had a series with them that I've been producing for several years now, and then I won an Emmy in February, so that's neat. Next slide. My research question for this project is, can we reconstruct from historical documents a long-span history of planned introductions to the islands from early colonial times onwards? And so, because I just got here April 1st, I haven't been working on this that long, but my strategy right now, my methodology, has been to basically find a baseline. So I've been trying to identify what plants were already present on the island, what was already happening on the island before colonization, and then to identify the major players, which is the military side of my experience coming in 3 minutes. I just heard most of the seconds. No? And then, so I've been working on identifying Spain, Germany, Japan, and of course the US's involvement on the islands. And then considering other factors like indigenous movement, especially because Inez has been getting me going with that. And then I've also thought about China and Japan because I've noticed that a lot of the research that we talked about, they're very close by, but I haven't seen much conversation about them in the things that I've seen personally. So I'm trying to work with my other colleagues to ask questions about them. And then I also want to pinpoint that the goal of all of this is to pinpoint the most ideal archives for each of these topics and then begin my collections and data gathering process. And so that is my presentation.
We went a bit over time, eh? Please participate.
No, it's me.
You know, in ERC interviews, when time's up, and in the very interviews, when time's up, they cut you and they say, all right, thank you very much. Let's start with the question round. And there you are.
Wait a moment.
Okay, I was going to start timing.
Wait.
But you have more than 3 minutes, you must say. Yeah. 3 minutes, 5 slides.
Oh, well, I learned my lesson, so I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Edwi Urbina. I'm part of the pre-doctorals from the Pacific People Project in INCIPIT and CSIC. So all the, most of the images here come from the report of the what they have been doing before we started this project. So first, this is the starting title for my dissertation. This could change, but the idea is, as I said before, establishing the settlement patterns of the people that were inhabited in the Mariana Islands from the beginning to yesterday. So the first thing that I'm going to do, and this is a presentation about what I think should be my focus during the first year of the PhD, is studying the context, doing a contextual analysis of the material culture from time period, because we do that. We do have there a sequence of occupation that are contextualized. Once I do that, I need to study the pottery, the lithic, the shell, family. I'm not gonna do the Koreans, but there are people specialized in that. So what I've been doing so far is understanding what we do have about pottery there. That over there is what we have. If you see the sport, did this in 1957. So what I'm gonna try to do is this. This is something that I did before. So establishing the forms and then do the classes that I can associate with a period of occupation, and then please with the net one. Then I'm gonna try to put time into space, because I'm gonna try to put what we have from the rock shelter into the Mariana Islands from the information that we have from the survey. So we have to do that during the first year, hopefully. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that, maybe, but I'm gonna try to do that, because that's the first question that I have to do in order to understand who they were before European got there. So that's it. How long was it?
Antes estaba viendo la pantalla compartida, pero no pusieron en chat. Es que darle mejor a mi ahí, desde ahí, sí, de toda la pantalla. Pincha ahí, activa el audio también por si acaso hay algún vídeo. Así ya no hay que andar cambiando cada vez que cargue la presentación.
Hello. Hello, my name is Vasil, and with the supervision of Maria, Cesar, and Jesus is not here, Maria Martin, and Adrian as well. I'll be working. I'll briefly explain about my research. So we already know the island has been from the contact, the first starting from the first contact by the Chamorro and the colonial contacts, and there has been a lot of dynamics was happening and still happening in the forest of Rota. So the main rationale of my research is that the native forest, what we call a native forest, is not as native as we think. So it has some, there are anthropogenic actions, of course there is. So from that, I have the research gap. From there, the core objective of my study is to investigate investigate for the anthropogenic signals within the native forest of Rota. So my methodology will involve starting from designing what is the native forest and how we can classify the anthropogenic implication within the forest, and we'll be doing an extensive field survey during the 5 months of Rota. I'll be collecting samples and then developing some indicator signals for an anthropogenic legacy. Then using this whole set of data, I'll integrate with remote sensing and to develop some models and to identify the anthropogenic involvement within the forest, do the spatial analysis and modeling. Also, there will be linear. We already have many places that have archaeological evidences, so a way to connect with it, and the outcomes is possibly we'll have some reproducible workflow that can be used elsewhere in similar setting. That's the objective.
Francis.
Okay, this is my presentation. It's coming. Without the presentation.
Already.
Okay. Is this working?
No, not really.
Okay. Not good.
It was there. It was.
Okay. Okay, so maybe you want to start?
Yes.
Maybe. Okay, so I will be, I'm Francesco Zusca and I'm doing botany for this project. So we decided to divide the project in three parts that are going to correspond to the three chapters of the thesis. So the first one will be on dendrochronology, and we will be investigating on the dendrochronological potential of some tree species on the island. Hopefully we will find some trees that are suitable for this, and that will be maybe able, that we will be able to use as a dendrochronological tool to date remains, wooden remains, maybe even charcoal. So I also put some species there, just in case maybe there will be some overlap in the species between our projects. And those are some pictures that I took while polishing wood. And so for the second part, we will be testing the secondary growth hypothesis. So we were saying earlier that actually the inland forests maybe are not really native in the island, in the mainland. So we will be using chicas and Hernandia that are actually native, and then two species that are introduced first with the Australasians and then from by the Spanish. And we will be actually studying, like, we will have some graphics like this one with expansions and bottlenecks of the populations. So we will have expansions when species actually, populations actually expanded their area, and contractions and bottlenecks where actually there was a reduction. And for the third part, we will have a dating and tracing of the species that were introduced first with by the Austronesians and then by the Spanish. So we will retrace actually the routes that the Austronesians were traveling, and then the Acapulco and Manila-Acapulco galleon trade route. And here the challenges will be that we will be analyzing divergent times of populations that are actually recent. So usually it's like a million of years or 100,000 years, but here it's going to be 3,500 years or even 500 years for the second case. And those are the species that we will use, maybe. Okay.
I think there was an issue because I used Canva in the PowerPoint.
No,
Maybe.
don't worry, I can.
Okay.
Okay, are we ready?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so my name is Ines de Ruiter. I have a background mainly in anthropology and in history and the intersection between these two. I used to work at Naturalis as well, where I was working as a provenance researcher. So I was looking at historical documents to trace museum collections, specifically from a colonial perspective in the Americas. This is my background. And for this project, I will be trying to reconstruct the Chamorro demographic and settlement patterns based on the historical documentation that exists from the times of early contact and until the 18th century. So basically, I want to understand the indigenous ways of life in the Northern Mariana Islands, specifically on Guam and Rotom, before and during early European contact, and track how these colonial encounters reshape the demographic patterns, the plant use, the agricultural systems, and the settlement organization on the islands. So a little bit of historical background. The first encounter with Europeans on the island would happen in 1521 during the Magellan Elcano expedition. They didn't stay very long. It was a very brief encounter, but they definitely started to write about the Chamorro people already. In between 1521 and 1668, there was sporadic contact. There were some ships that arrived on the islands and took note about what they were seeing on the islands, but no one really settled there until 1668 when there was the first proper Jesuit missionary activity on the island, and they created a permanent settlement started by San Vitores. And this is when the period of terror really started on the islands, where there was a lot of settlement repopulation, there was a lot of things that changed on the islands, the demographics significantly reduced, and there's documentation of this as well. This was until 1768 when the Jesuits were officially expelled from the islands and replaced by the Augustinian Recollets. So I'll be looking at basically the period right before 1521, what we know about this based on the first sources, up until the expulsion of the Jesuits. I will be specifically looking at the effects of la reducción, which was a colonial strategy it's a forced relocation of indigenous people. So they took everybody from all the islands, removed them from their home settlements and replaced them in Guam. So basically everyone had to live in these very concentrated villages where they were being surveilled by the missionaries, and their activities were controlled, their agricultural practices were replaced by European ones, and there was a lot of change that happened on the island. Rota is interesting for me specifically because there was a group of around 100 people who escaped and lived undetected on Rota during this period. So I also want to look at the differences between Guam, where there was very heavy la reducción policy, and then Rota, where maybe we can still find some evidence of later traditional uses of the land and settlement patterns. So basically my question is very simply, what happens to the environment when the indigenous people who used to manage the land are forcibly removed from that area? What happens to the environment in the areas where they are now concentrated and forced to practice foreign European land management traditions? Then again, how did forced relocation, colonial surveillance, eradication of traditional practices, and the evaluation of the Chamorro people affect as well the epistemologies and ontologies, so the minds of the indigenous people, and replace that with European ways of thinking about land management, agriculture, food systems. And so, yeah, in turn, affecting the relationship to the environment and the persistence of this today. So my research questions are mainly trying to look at the historical documentation and what it can tell us about these things. It can also be that it doesn't tell us anything, but that's also an interesting point to consider. So I have a bunch of research questions at the moment. I'm still narrowing down exactly what I'm going to do, but basically the gist of it is that my hypothesis is that the resettlement of indigenous people affected the local environment. And I think that we're all looking at something similar. My perspective is from what do the historical documents tell us about this. I've identified some research gaps already, specifically related to the fact that a lot of this research has been done on Guam, but not on the other islands. Specifically not Rota. So I'm interested in also putting attention while reading these documents into the other islands, as well as the mentioning of plants, plant use. So if we go to the next slide, please. I will extract data from the colonial accounts, mainly the Spanish ones, but also some Dutch ones, some English ones, if they exist. Doing archival research, conducting interviews with local communities to record oral histories as well, so that we don't only rely on the colonial and biased documentation. And then I would like to develop some sort of database on GIS that allows us to visualize these settlement relocations as well as the effect that this had on the environment. And I've plucked out a quote here. Actually, there are a couple ones behind it as well from earlier accounts, but I just wanted to kind of show what these sources can tell us, like what kinds of quotes I will be looking at. So here, for example, it tells us about the interactions between the Spanish and the Chamorro. It tells us that the island was well populated, and that the intention was to make plantations. They write a little bit about what the houses looked like, what kinds of things they were using. It says, for example, that there were about 500 boats, which also tells us a little bit about demographics. If you know how many houses there are, if you know how many boats there are, how many people can fit into a boat, you can kind of do a math estimation of how many people there might have been at the time before they started doing census records and baptism records. This is, there's some other quotes behind it, but the transition isn't working. So, that's what I have for you today.
Ines, you went twice is over time. Just, sorry, I'm too shy. You were very eager, right? Bring up Marco, and then before the coffee, we'll just have very briefly some comments on the Yes.
Hi, I'm Marco Zangi. I'm the PhD student at Naturalis and Vahenenga, working with Tinda and Angelica. Before this, I did my master's in ecology, evolution, and conservation biology at Columbia University and New York Botanical Garden. And my project will focus on ethnobotany, conservation, and socio-ecological change of wild and cultivated food plants of the Mariana Islands. So the main topics that I'll focus on are the overview of the ethnobotany of the Mariana Islands and the effects of socio-ecological changes and colonization on traditional plant knowledge. So taking a general inventory of the wild and cultivated useful plants and looking at how some of the knowledge regarding those plants has decreased as a result of the colonization that we know has taken place on the islands. Following is weaving and fiber plants. So Maria and you guys here have already done some work looking at weaving plants from the archaeological evidence, as well as some interviews with people about these plants. So understanding the focused taxonomy and management of pandanus for craft production, which is an incredibly important species for local people that was historically used to make baskets, roofs, and understanding how that management might have affected the forest composition that we see currently. The third is the cycads' cultural importance, processing, and spirituality. So the cycads have a toxic seed that needs to be processed, and interviewing local people about the detoxification process, as well as its traditional knowledge associated with it, so its biocultural significance, in hopes that this work can help to preserve these traditional foodways. The fourth is breadfruit diversity. So breadfruit is a species that is incredibly important culturally to the Chamorro people. And on the island, we find another species of seed, breadfruit with seed in it, Artocarpus marianensis, which is able to hybridize with, we see hybrids of this species, and that's what creates diversity. So understanding some of the varietal diversity that's present on the islands, how they characterize this diversity, as well as documenting the traditional knowledge around management and stuff, which will inform how some of the forests and settlements that may have been established. And the last is Chamorro ethnoecology, so looking at how Chamorro people and Carolinian populations and more recent Filipino populations understand and classify the landscape. And so what methods we'll use is ensuring that our work remains locally rooted, so understanding the epistemologies of local people and making sure that we work with the community to develop ideas and methods that work for their thoughts. Collaboration with the community, so making sure that we collaborate with the Historical Preservation Council, as well as if there's an elder community that has some kind of say in the community, working with them, and as well we're working with the younger generation also to make sure that this knowledge is preserved. We'll also conduct semi-structured interviews, so this is kind of like having a conversation with someone. It doesn't follow a defined chronology of questions. Structured interviews, which are follow a specific order, you ask everyone the same questions. This allows us to have data and numbers regarding percentages of what people said or things like that. And then walk in the woods, which is one of the most important. So that's where we go out with our collaborators We have them identify plants, and then we collect those plants that they've identified as being useful or having maybe some spiritual purpose, and collect information on that. And then participant observation, so working with people in the community, going to their fields, conducting daily life activities that they've traditionally done and documenting those practices. And what we hope to get out of this is not only benefiting everyone else's work by creating, allowing us to understand traditional management practices and traditional use of these plants across time, but also to provide materials for the community, whether it be workbooks or videos of elders explaining certain practices or traditional use of plants. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much for having taken this assignment, for having complied with this assignment, and for having carried it out. So some general remarks, all right? This was more just to set the focus on you and you seeing each other, we hearing more about you, seeing a little bit what your presentation skills are towards the next trainings. And yeah, some general remarks. Grabbing the mic, well, here was a must, no, you had to take it, but this always causes very good impression. If at the conference you have the opportunity, there is a mic available and you can grab it and get off the stage, get off the podium, that looks very good, Maria, because it's your story, you are the one that knows most about what you are doing, so feel confident and that shows confidence. Then, engaging with the audience. So you've been looking at us. Well, Marco, you especially been looking a bit at your shoes. So I was wondering, you need to practice that a little bit more. So really engage with the audience. Try not to look too much towards your screen because then you're giving the back to your audience. So try really to know the flow, or yeah, you can of course make references, but then try not to turn to your body too much. So try to keep your body more towards the audience. Yeah, so feel empowered. It's your story and you are the one that knows best. So feel empowered whenever you tell the story about what you do. So this was an assignment. So we said 3 slides, 2 minutes. The other way, 2 slides, 3 minutes. So some of you did comply and had 3 slides and less than, the other way, 2 slides in less than 3 minutes. But some of you went over time and over slides. And so just it's just a simple remark. It's not so. But then whenever you are told you have to present at the conference, you will have 15 minutes. So that's 12 plus 3, 12 minutes for your research, 3 minutes for question. If you go over time, you miss the opportunity to get questions. And you also get people wondering, when are you going to be done? And then they stop listening and they are just waiting to see when you are going to finish, you know? So it's really important to bear this in mind and practice. In fact, the shorter time you have for a presentation, the more you need to practice just to make sure you don't go over time. Vale? Then general remarks about the presentations. Some of you put the logos in the first slide, very good. Not only your institutional logos, but also the funders. It's really important that people know that you are working for a Marie Curie funded project, doctoral network project. That's really good. Then, in general, in some slides, there was much text. So for historians, when you want to put a quote or something, that is acceptable. But if not, then we are working in an exceptionally beautiful place. Also for the historians, we have exceptionally beautiful drawings, and so make use of them. Use full screens, and then maybe place a few keywords for you to help you and to help the audience follow your story. But please make use of these fantastic visuals, taking most of the screen. And very good, Joel, for instance, started with a personal story. Ines also started with a personal story. That's also nice. Sometimes it has to be brief, but it helps the audience engaging with you personally. So it's also something depending on the audience and depending on the type of presentation, but it's also very good. There's something else I can think. Size of the text, of course, not too small, otherwise we cannot read it. So don't try to extend. It's better that you place less text on the screen and then talk more, because otherwise if you do the other way, you put a lot of text, we are going to be reading the text and not listening to what you say. And also then we tend to, as presenters, if we have a lot of text, we tend to read the text also and then talk on top of that. That ensures that we go all the time. Vale? So try to avoid that. And yeah, that's it. I don't know if anyone else has a comment for any of you. But in any case, I'm very pleased with what you've done, and this will help us in the next meeting to see your progress, and I think that you appreciate. I hope that you appreciate the exercise. So.
Just one more thing is that we have a PowerPoint, how do you say it? Templates that you can use, because Adrian has prepared this with all the funding and the logos and everything, so that we can homogenize a little bit the presentations. Okay, let's go now for breakfast.
When do we restart so that I can tell?
15 minutes now, or more or less.
So now,
more or less 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Bueno, Rubén.
You're the one out of
Esto no he dicho, pero sí, ahora está ya la grabación. Sí. Y aquí hay que parar el YouTube también.
Sí.
Sí. A mí, para mí va mejor que Connect.